where you can find real stories, real opinions, and real conversation between two black men with over 50 years of military service between them.
We're bringing real talk, real stories, and a bit of military humor along the way. But look, we're here because we've got something to say.
Absolutely. Now, the format of the show is simple. We're going to have 5 questions each episode that we both must answer honestly.
I ain't scared. Let's get it.
Yeah, I hear you now. All right, for those who don't know me, I'm Tommie, retired Sergeant Major with 30 years active duty service in the Army. And now, looks like I get to talk for a living.
And I'm Lance, retired colonel, 29 years of active duty service in the Army. I took care of people as a nurse, but now I get to just watch TV and run my mouth.
Oh, 29 years. That's cute. Bless your heart.
I hit my mark. You just needed a little more time to get yours.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. We're friends, and we come from 2 different Army worlds, but the same mission, being honest and talking about what matters.
So today we're starting from the beginning. Who we are, how we got here, and why this podcast exists.
All right, let's get into it. Question number 1. Where did you grow up, and how did that shape the man you became before the military?
Good question. I grew up in East St. Louis, Illinois, East Boogie, baby.
Boom,
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 born and raised. Families from the area, so I had a lot of family there, so close-knit, loving family. Okay. Mom and dad both in the house. Dad was born and came up from Mississippi, Drew, Mississippi. Mother came from Denver, Colorado. They met when my father was out there in school at the Air Force Academy, actually.
Okay.
But grew up close to grandparents, close to cousins, got an older brother, younger sister, close to both of those, as close as you can be.
Yeah.
But grew up with the yes sir, no sir, discipline, and which helped me out, I think, starting out and adjusting to the military world. But that's pretty much the start of the story.
Okay. And so you were born and raised in East St. Louis, right? Mm-hmm. You went to school there, but you used to wrestle, right?
I wrestled. Yes, sir, I did. I started wrestling about the 6th grade because I'm not super tall to play basketball. I played football too, but wrestling was probably my main sport because I played and stayed in high school. Got a wrestling scholarship to a D1 school, small D1 school, Howard University in DC. But it helped pay some of the bills that I wanted to be paid for to get in there. Yep.
What got you into wrestling?
My father.
He was a wrestler?
Yep. My father wrestled, and and it made sense. It was one of those things where it was father did it. It was a good interest for me. It was something where I could get it, get some aggressions and things out without getting in trouble for fighting and things like that.
Right.
But I really enjoy. I think it's the greatest sport in the. It's the greatest sport in the world. It's because it's a team sport, but when you're out on the mat, it's you. It's all you. Yeah, exactly.
And you still watch it now. I see you watching
I watch
it
every year, watching the Division Ones. I watch it during the course of the season, the Olympics, and whenever else I can get to it. And especially around the NCAA tournament time, I had old teammates get on the phone and we start calling and talking about like, look at that, you seeing this? Did you see this? So it's a great sport. And that's another thing that probably benefit me and help me out getting into the military, because when I did start all of the I was in good shape, pretty good shape.
Yeah.
So that piece of worrying about I got to get in shape, and the physical fitness part, that part never fazed me. So it actually helped out a little bit for the most part. But great sport. I can't. Just to know how you can push your limits and go past that. I mean, it helped me to do that. So, but it also it hurts some things because you look at other folk. You know, when you're dealing with other folks and you're like, what's going on? Why can't you can't you not you can get past it? Yeah, you know, and it's like, and you know, I mean, you just you expect the best out of your yourself and others. So
I get it.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Middletown, Ohio, named after my pops. He was a steel worker for 35 years. My mother was a stay-at-home mom, and I had one brother who was older than me, and then one sister. I'm like you. I remember my childhood. Whenever I think back to it, it was green grass. It was fun.
I mean, it was suburbs. I mean, it's suburbs. Yeah, you know.
But it wasn't. We were not wealthy at all. But it didn't seem like we lacked anything.
I
it was a
understand that. Yep.
black neighborhood. We had kids all up and down the blocks, and we just played. The main thing we did, we played football, touch or tackle. We played
in the street and
absolutely,
in the lot. Yeah.
Absolutely. We played baseball. We played basketball. We used to play what's called King of the Porch.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we just used to do stuff. So when I think back of my childhood, it was a fun time.
Yeah.
And so I went to school, played sports, and my main sports were football, and then it became basketball. But I just think that my childhood specifically goes back to what you were saying. What set me up to be okay with going into the military and transitioning to the military was absolutely my mom being there all the time, and then her discipline, and she was on it, quick hands. And then my dad, he was born in Alabama, and so he was one of 10, and he didn't, because he was born later down the line, I think he was sixth, yeah. So he didn't have a real relationship with his father because his older brother acted more like his father. Because back then, the father wasn't bothered because the father worked, right? And the family was the disciplinarians, led by the mother. And so my dad sort of, you learn what you're taught, right?
How many boys and girls?
So it was 7 boys and 3 girls. Yeah.
Okay.
And them Jones boys was real.
I bet. I understand my father. It was 7 of them, so it was 6 boys and 1 girl. My father was the oldest.
The daughter.
Well, she was mean.
I bet she was.
Yeah, didn't nobody mess with her.
Then the saying. So my oldest uncle was Uncle Jerry, named after my father, or his father, and my grandfather. And then right after her was my Aunt Sarah. And so my Aunt Sarah and my Uncle Jerry were like the parents back then. They were the disciplinarians, and the rest of the kids, they all bowed down to them too. And we didn't have that many kids in our household, but it was sort of the same dynamic to where Dad, he woke up, went to work, got off work, he went to sleep, or when he was off, he went to play golf, or, cut the grass and did stuff around the house. So outside of him working, he worked 12 to 16 hours a day. Yeah, as a steel worker. And he was always gone, always working doubles, trying to bring that money home to keep the house going. Because one thing I didn't point out is that I went to a private school from kindergarten through 6th grade. And it was a private Christian school. And it was a Baptist church. And I was one of 2 black people there. The other one was my sister, who's 2 years older than me. And so all of that combined is what I think set me up to be able to walk into the military and be able to get along with the different races.
Right.
B, understand what discipline, meaning consequences for your actions, means, because I wasn't very disciplined growing up because I just did what I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying?
He's the baby.
100%. Exactly. So that understanding what discipline is, and then just being able to follow instructions and orders. And I think, that combination right there, I think, is what shaped me to be able to, without knowing it, to be able to go into the military and then have some success.
Okay.
So it was a good time for me, that childhood. So why did you choose to join the military, and did you think it would be a career?
I had no. I think the military chose me.
Yeah.
Or my father chose it for me.
Your father.
Because I got to put out. My father was a principal. He was high school. He was an educator. So by the time that I got to high school, he was principal.
Right.
So I mean, I saw my dad I saw my dad every day.
Right.
So it was opposite
Home
with
and
my
at
mom.
school.
Yeah. So because my mom was she's a nurse.
Okay.
So she was at work all the working the 12-hour shifts and doing that stuff. So, but my father, I saw him all the time. But my father, I knew I was going to go to school and wrestle, and I had wrestling scholarships and academic scholarships and stuff coming in. My father said, "Here, fill out these two scholarships for me, 2 applications for me." And one was Army
Just brought it to
ROTC.
you.
I walked into his office one day, and he was like, "Here, come." He called me to his office. One was the Army ROTC, and one was Air Force ROTC. So I said, "Oh, okay." Filled them up because I'm not tracking. I mean, the military was never like a, "Hey, you're gonna go to the you're gonna do." It was never a hot topic or subject or even a thought in my mind that I was gonna go do.
And he went to the Air Force Academy.
He went to the Air Force
and he
Academy.
never talked about you in the military.
Nope,
Wow.
never talked about any of us going to the military. He was just like, you need to, whenever you graduate, this is what he said. Whenever you graduate, you either need to be going to school, or you need to, or he would say you're gonna have to go into the military, but you can't be sitting up
in my house.
And it was like, okay, got that. I know I don't think I want to
two
go to
options.
the military. I think I'm doing pretty well on the track to go to school, so I'm gonna see if I can go that, do that route. So, got the Army ROTC acceptance stuff back, did the interviews and the physicals and the exams and all of that stuff, and got the ROTC scholarship. So then it was picking a school. So I picked my school. So then it was like, okay, how am I gonna pay? How's this go? How am I gonna pay for this? So I got the wrestling scholarship and the ROTC scholarship, and was ready to go to school. Got to school and still had no idea. It still hadn't dawned on me that I'm in the that I'm in the military, because it's just you're thinking it's just ROTC, but I'm in college. But it was August 1990. I signed my first reserve contract, and it was like, oh shit,
Just a piece of paper. Huh?
Yeah, and then until I went down to our supply S4 to get we had to go down there and get uniforms, and we get these BDUs and the class, the green
outfits.
class A's, and your shoes and boots, and they telling you got the shine boots, and you're like, oh, hold up, what's going on? Then it start, when we started to do PT and those things, and then it was like, okay, let me start paying more attention to this and start adjusting to what's going on, adjusting to what's going on and what's going to be in the future. So then, and probably that first year, it wasn't. I don't think I was thinking, I'm gonna want to make this a career. I think after I got to go to airborne school my sophomore year.
Okay.
And after that, and seeing, because I was there with officers and enlisted and other cadets and stuff, and it was like, you know what, I think I like this. I think I can do this. Let me try to put forth a little more effort and try to excel in this as much as I can, and that's what ended up doing. That's what I did. I got into it, and Had a good time, going through it and learning, and 29 years later.
There it is.
Yep.
So you're from St. Louis.
Yep. East St. Louis.
Okay.
On the Illinois side.
All right. And you went to school at Howard.
Yes.
So how come you didn't stay home?
That's another thanks to my father, which when I looked at it back then, I was pissed because he wanted me to get away from the area because he knew that he knew that I was comfortable at the house, happy, and he knows that my friend, I had friends. Like I said, we didn't have a lot of money, but we wasn't. We lived in we had a house.
Right.
Didn't live in the projects or anything like that. And I mean, if that's folks, ain't nothing wrong with that. If that's where you brought up, I had nothing against it. Cause
Just a different life.
That's where my friends were.
Right.
So that's where I would be over there.
It.
And
Same here.
and shit happens. Shit goes down. And just like anybody that has kids knows that it's like, okay, you want better for your kids than what you had, or you don't want them to struggle like you struggled. Right. So my father, being who he was like, you got good, you were better. You can do good things. And I know that you need to get away from, you can't be this close. I can't have you that close to where you can get home in, 2 hours, 3 hours or whatever. You need to be away and experience some different, and experience some different stuff. So I had two choices. I got my choice. First choice was University of Pennsylvania. And then I had Howard University. Those are my only two choices, and both on the East Coast. Yeah, both on the East Coast.
Right.
I visited Penn, loved it. It was cool. I mean, and it was more similar to, because I was in a probably call it predominantly white high school.
Okay.
It was like 70-30 or 80-20.
Yeah. I can relate.
So I mean, that's and Penn was probably less. I'm sure it was less than that, but it wasn't where I was in a situation where I was around a lot of
black people,
black folks.
Yeah.
Going to school with similar ideology and goals and
background,
things that you
culture,
had. Yeah, all of that stuff. So, and I liked it, and the rest of the team was good and all that good stuff, but it was expensive still. Still would have had to come out of pocket with the scholarship, with the ROTC, still would have had to come out of pocket. And it was like, you know what, nope. Took Howard, said what we're going to do Howard, didn't even visit Howard. Only thing I heard was folks would say, oh, it's bad down, it's the ghetto down there. And it's like, well, what are you talking, when we got down there, I was like, this reminds me of the house. This reminds me of riding my bike through through the streets of East St. Louis or whatever. So it doesn't. That part that didn't faze me. It was the city, so it was a lot more traffic, a lot more the row houses and things like that. It wasn't homes, but and then just getting there, and I had never been at a school where it was predominantly black.
Yeah.
It was predominantly black.
Bunch of U's everywhere.
Yeah, from everywhere. From the islands, from California. They were everywhere. We had kids from everywhere, so it was great to see everybody there that looked like you, and it was a beautiful thing.
Wow. It's crazy. So my path was different. I was in school for this long, after I was in college for this long, and I was not ever considering the military until I pretty much signed up to go. So I was a senior, graduated, went and did a little bit of sports. And then after that, I was like, I don't know if this is really what I want to do. Because I love basketball, but I didn't see myself going, like to the pros. And so when I left school, I was sort of stagnant. But a friend of mine, his name Ahmed Thompson, he just passed away. But me and him was like, look, we're going to the Miami University of Middletown, which is a community college. And we're going to play on the basketball team. And so we just started in the summer, we just started going and playing because we both could play. And we just started playing all over the place. And then one time we were playing, and this dude we had never seen before, but we was playing, and he was okay, but after we finished playing, he was just talking to us, and he was like, "Man, y'all got some skills, man." He's like, "So what are y'all doing? Y'all who y'all play for?" I was like, "I don't play for nobody, I mean, right now I'm not sure what we're going to do. We're talking about going to school. We're going to play on the team and all that." And he was like, said, "I'm a recruiter for the Army." I was like, "Oh, okay," because we asked him, "What do you do?" And that's the thing. So I'm not sure. I wasn't sure until, of course, I was in the Army that he was out trying to get people to recruit, right? I didn't think that way. I thought it was just a dude who stopped to play some ball, right? Yeah. But, the more you mature, the more you realize that he was in a government vehicle. So I'm sure he didn't just do that for fun. But anyway, long story short, my boy Ahmed was like, "No, I'm not Army material." And then I was like, "Hey, right now I don't have a plan," because my dad would always tell me, he's like, "You're not going to be a slave the rest of your life." Right. And what he meant by that is it makes no sense to work so hard for nothing. Right. And that meant, all right, say for instance, I worked at McDonald's, right? The only way I was going to make real money at McDonald's was working 24 hours a day at McDonald's, right? And
Trying to own a McDonald's.
And he was just sitting there telling me, because that's what he did his whole life, He worked and he made good money because Armco at that time was top tier, and he made outstanding money for the area we lived in. But to make real money, he had to add real hours. And so he was gone at a minimum of half the day every day. Yeah. And he was just like, "No, I ain't going to have that." And I'll be honest with you, my parents talked about college, but it was not something that they demanded. Okay. The only reason I was taking that step and went to college is because that's what, friends that I was cool with, that's what they were doing.
I mean, college is not for everybody, and I absolutely believe that, and there's nothing wrong with having
immediately.
A trade. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
I absolutely believe that you need to touch college to advance as a human, but in those beginning stages, you have to find something that is going to give you a foundation. And trust me, I'm not recruiting. Right. But so once again, he was like, "Man, you should take the ASVAB." And the reason he talked to me about the Army, or kept talking about the Army at that time in my mind, was because he was a black recruiter and he was in a black neighborhood. And he said something that sticks to me to this day. He's like, "People like us, we have to make a decision early. We can either not do anything and be like everybody else, meaning you stop there and then you're going to degrade, or you make a decision and move forward, and that will improve your life." And that was the most simple thing in the world, and it made sense to me. So when I joined, first off, I took the ASVAB. I didn't know it was going to be early on a Saturday morning, but anyway, took it, did well, and the doors were open. But my mom, my dad, and my sister had no idea that I was taking the ASVAB because I was 18, and had no idea that I was joining the Army until I told them I was
now, was
joining the
anybody in your family in the Army, Air Force, Marines?
No. So on my father's side, my father didn't serve, but on my father's side, I had an uncle that was drafted for the Korean War. I had an uncle that was drafted for the Vietnam War. On my mother's side, I had an uncle that was an Air Force officer.
Okay.
But it wasn't, and my uncle, also on my mother's side, was a Marine.
Okay.
And so it wasn't their influence that pushed me to the military.
Right.
But after really thinking about it, you got to remember the times, 89, was the war.
Yep.
And then 90 is when I graduated. So we're talking 91, and I'm like stagnant, but there's still that positive feedback from the war, and it was an option at the time.
People had some of that deployment money.
Absolutely. And I joined because honestly, I didn't know what my next step was going to be. And I knew that if I made this step into the military, it was the start of something.
Okay.
That's all I knew before I went to basic training.
Okay.
And like you said, 30 years later, went as high as I could go. And then now I'm retired and happy.
Hey, that's a good thing.
So how did we meet? So, let's hear your version.
I had a home here in San Antonio, and my daughter was staying there. But we would come home. We were stationed out in Virginia, and we would come home try to get home every month, just so I get home and do a little thing, home maintenance, and just to get back and see friends and.
So tell people how you got to San Antonio.
The first time, the second
just
time,
period.
First, San Antonio is home to the all of military medical training. So I had to come here for basics, for advanced course, captain's career course, any military medical training had to come here, and then on top of that, the DoD's largest military medical facility. And only level 1 trauma center is here in San Antonio, Brooke Army Medical Center. So any schoolings, because I'm a perioperative nurse, so I had to come here to get my specialized training to be a perioperative nurse. So I'm coming back and forth here for 6 months, a year, whatever at a time. I've been doing that, but we didn't get stationed here until 2008.
Okay.
It was the first time we actually got stationed here in San Antonio.
Okay.
When I say we, my wife, because my wife was also a active duty retired colonel in the medical field. So between the two of us, we were here. we were here off and on until like 2008, where we were here pretty much permanently. And then when we got here in 2008, our goal, because we had moved up until that point probably about 6 or 7 times. So the goal was, and we had our 2 kids by that time too. So goal was try to stay still, to try to let them graduate and go to school or whatever they were going to do, but try to give them some type of roots and not have a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit everywhere. Right. So we got here, and then we would deploy or I got stationed up at Hood. She got stationed out in DC, and just different jobs that we had to do in order to keep the family stable. Right. So we were stationed out in DC, out in Virginia, and we were home and I think it was October, November timeframe, but it was
21.
It was a Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan football game weekend. I'm an Ohio State fan, by marriage, because my wife's from Ohio, so was pretty upset because they had lost that day. So we were like, let's go get some, to that team. So my wife said, hey, let's go get some pizza from Grimaldi's, because that's one of our favorite little pizza spots, and we have one, that's in our area. So we're like, yep, gonna go do it. Got there, sat at one of the high top tables at the bar. Yep. And we had ordered, and I was sitting there drinking a beer, and I see this giant man in red come in, and I was like, oh. I said, hey, man. And they walked over, started walking over in our direction. I said, hey, man, I know how you feel. And then we just started talking, and
we bonded through pain.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah. We started talking, and come to find out, it's like, where y'all? Because anytime you see some other young, black folks, and I say young for us because I still feel young.
Yes. We were younger then too.
Another, couple, you know, as we were talking, you know, with similar interests and things like that. He's like, hey, where y'all live? You know, and he's like, oh, we live right up here at right up the road, about 2-3 miles away. I was like, what? I said, we're getting a house built in that neighborhood because we moving because I wanted to get a 1-story home. So I was like, okay. It's like, now what street are y'all on? What? Y'all are right up behind us. Okay. So I mean, just all of the things just fell into place, and I mean, it was you talk about something that was meant to be, or you know, somebody, you know, a couple. I mean, because his wife also. I mean, Tommie's wife. I mean, we all get along. You would think that we'd known each other for
30 years.
Yeah, for years. I mean, so it's just crazy because I guess my wife and Tommie both from Ohio and grew up 35, 45 minutes away from each other. High school teams played against each other, and I mean, just
there's so much connective tissue.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So my version is not much different. There's more drama in my life because that was the beginning of Ohio State losing to that team on the regular. And so we dominated them the years before. So my heart was all the way out my chest.
It's cutting deeper for him. It's cutting deeper.
So my wife Nikki, she always monitors me on those things, and she knew I was heartbroken, and she knows that I love Grimaldi's because Nikki is medical services, right? So she was and she's retired military as well. And she always had to come back here for training and being stationed here. And whenever I'd come visit her, it was Grimaldi's. It was always on the schedule because she knew I loved the pizza. So she was trying to, hey, big guy, keep your head up. Let's go to Grimaldi's. And so we went to Grimaldi's. My head was down. And then I walk in and, you know, they ask you where you want to sit, and I saw a black couple that looked like they were in our age range over there at the high top. So I was like, let's go over there. So we went over there, and it's like you said, it's just amazing how much. I'll give you some more, right? Me and him are both from the Midwest.
Yep.
We were born the same year.
Yep.
Our birthdays are 6 days apart. All right. And we both love sports, right? And TV and movies. So that's that. Then our wives, his wife is from Ohio, right? My wife's from Georgia. But they have literally been in the same space because of the military at times, but didn't really communicate, don't even remember or know each other.
Yep. They were in the same
they
unit,
were on
a 2-3.
They were.
Yeah, so
they were on a bus together.
Yep.
You know, so but their personalities are similar. So the four of us are just cool, and then because of them we've met some more great people, but we all have the one thing in common that we all have when it boils down to it is the military service. And that's how we met. We didn't meet. He was still serving, but I had just retired. So I got to act like I was living the good life while he had to get up in the morning and go to work. So I kept messing with him about that. But other than that, it was we just bonded. It was cool.
Yeah.
And I will say this, there aren't a lot of black people near you in San Antonio unless you're living in a black area. And we don't live in a black area. So it was unique for us to meet like that.
Yep.
So what was one moment in the military that made you realize that the military is bigger than you?
Probably the first time that it happened was when I was at Fort Bragg.
The second best
Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Installation in the 18th Airborne Corps. Air assault.
I don't know about that. But got called up for to go to New Orleans for Hurricane Katrina relief or So I mean, it was to see the mobilization of that was, you know, everybody coming together, getting us on a plane, getting all of our gear and everything packed, getting down there, getting us set, situated and set up.
That's the first time you deployed
Um,
outside of training?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, yes,
Okay.
yes. Um, and then how everything was just clicking into place so that we could get out the next day. We got there, got settled. Then the next day, we're out in the city seeing who we could help.
Right.
Giving people shots, getting people water and ice and things like that they needed. So that was probably the first time. And then when I deployed to Iraq a year later, it was not even it was about a year. Year later was really where we got to see everybody like clicking and seeing like the skills that the surgeons, the nurses, the techs, our supply for, just everybody, that our transportation for everybody that was involved in that, how everybody had to work together in order to get that for us. That number one goal was getting soldiers, taking care of them and getting them
back in the fight,
getting them either getting ready to go back to get on the battlefield or getting them back home,
right.
For their families, could love on them and do things like that. So, yeah, most definitely it was, because it was, in those situations you see it's never a me.
Yeah.
You're looking at we and us and you, and
you see where you fit
things. Yep.
in the chain gang. Yeah.
Yep.
And you were, what rank were you?
I was
Katrina?
Katrina. I was a captain, and then next year I got promoted to major. Yep.
All right. So for me, it was also a deployment, but it was when unit deployed to Bosnia, and I'd love to explain this about the Army. Right. A lot of people don't. Well, the military period, but a lot of people don't talk about this point. When you enter the military, yes, they tell you are now a part of a team, but it's your responsibility to gain knowledge, gain experience, and gain what's required to be successful, right? Yes, there's somebody that's supposed to lead you, but that's not always there, right? Because everybody has different leadership styles and capabilities. So I tell everyone that the beginning of your service in the military is under a selfish umbrella, because you really don't have the ability to think about other things or other people, because you're so focused on you, because you have to make sure your uniform's ready. You have to make sure that you're physically fit. You have to make sure that you're mentally prepared. And if you are what they call a go-getter, and what that means is you want to be as good as you possibly can or the best, then that narrows that selfish, your selfish focus. It narrows it even more, right? And so when I joined, I was athletically gifted, right? Meaning running, push-ups, and sit-ups was nothing to me, right? And doing it, I was active anyway.
Right.
And so when I joined the military, that gave me an advantage that a lot of people didn't have. And so all I had to do was continue to improve on that, but the majority of my mind could focus on things I didn't know. And that's a heck of an advantage.
And it's a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot starting off.
Absolutely. And so I was in that mindset of selfishness until I actually deployed, and then I became responsible for 2 subordinates. And I was a specialist promotable, meaning I'd gone to the promotion board and was able or eligible for the next rank of sergeant, but I had to wait on that time for the promotion, the cutoff scores, right? And so I was in a promotable status, but when we deployed, that locked me into a sergeant E5 slot, and they gave me 2 soldiers. And while I was preparing to deploying, and then during the deployment, that changed my entire mindset.
Responsibility and
Absolutely.
accountability.
Absolutely. And it literally changed me from selfishness to making sure that I was selfless, right? Because I had to learn how to stay focused on myself, but broaden that and now focus on, hey, these soldiers have to be capable as well, because I don't want to work so hard when they're right here and they can do, if I train them to be as good as I am in every area I can think of, right? Then that means that we all can be outstanding, right? It didn't mean and I don't want people to take away that I believe that meant less work for me. Absolutely not. It meant that I would now be able to focus on them and the mission more than the small things that anybody could take care of. Okay. And so being over there, we were in Bosnia, and not only did we deploy to Bosnia, and then our path to Bosnia was ridiculous. And we'll talk about our first deployment in another episode, but we were away from the main unit. So the main unit was about 5 miles away, and we, 3 of us, I had me, specialist promotable, I had male PFC, and then I had a female E2, private E2. And so we were all away, and I had to be professional, I had to be responsible, and I had to keep the chemistry of us on a level of productiveness instead of going in a negative way. And so that's the first real moment when I started to realize that the military, it's bigger than me. It's more than just me. So what do you want? That's enough about us.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So now, what do you want this podcast to be for people that are listening?
Well, just to get to know our experiences in the military, to understand that it's not all going to war. It's not all deployments all the time. It's not. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of learning.
And we're people too.
Yes, a lot of regular, normal folks out there, with the same
society
concerns, and I mean, we all of us don't live on post. A lot of us live in the communities that are
some in the ghetto.
Yep. So I mean, so just to let people know a little bit about the military on the inside and on duty and when we're off duty. And we're able, like now, since we're both retired, we're able to talk about a few more things that we wouldn't have talked about when we were on active duty, which is it's a refreshing also.
And that's why we keep harping on the honesty part, because I absolutely, the majority of my career, for 24 years, I was in a leadership position. And in those 24 years, I take that back. My math is all off. So for 26 years, to be accurate, I was in a leadership position where I had soldiers. Okay. And what that taught me was, it taught me that I needed to live away in the military, and I needed to train and develop in a way that the people who were under me had the best chance to be successful like I expected to be. And I hope that makes sense. So I hope that with the experience that we have as soldiers, as leaders, and as husbands, as fathers, and now as retirees, so we have lived those 5 specific areas. And you can throw in athletics, you can throw in our college, you can throw in all these other experiences we've had.
Yeah, I mean, and also just for folks that might still be on active duty, especially some of the younger folks out there, it's like, use the military because they're going to get their
Absolutely.
they're gonna get their work out of you. So all of the programs and things that are offered, use all of those things, because they're gonna come back in the end, whether you retire, whether you get out. When you're transitioning and back into the civilian workforce world, use the programs and the things that they have. Just don't let those things sit there, because they're gonna work. We're gonna get the work out of you.
And everything you take advantage for, it helps you and the military.
Absolutely.
And so if it helps you, then take it, and then it helps the military, then that helps you succeed and excel. And then when you retire, everything that you've gone through in the military, you take that with you into retirement.
Yes, you do.
And when you break it all down, it literally plugs into civilian life.
Yep.
It just depends on how you want to express
it. It does,
that.
because the military it's a business. It's a business, but it's not your traditional same
money
kind of
earning.
money.
business.
Yeah. We're not bringing in the trillions of dollars and the billions of dollars, but it's a business.
Absolutely. We are growing and enriching people. So that's the difference right there.
Yep, absolutely.
So that was our very first episode. We wanted to give you some background on us, who we are, how we came up, and why we chose to do this.
And the truth is, we've had most of these conversations already, just never with the mic in front of us.
Facts. And our topics will change, but the heart of it stays the same. Real experience, real opinions, and a whole lot of honesty.
And some of the topics that we're going to try to cover are military life, transitioning to civilian life, marriage, current events, movies and TV, sports, and a lot more.
Yeah. And so there's no scripts. It's just 5 questions and good conversation. We're going to be storytelling sometime. We're going to debating sometime. We just hope that you'll stick with us. We plan to get better episode by episode, especially with your feedback in the comments.
So thanks for listening. We got a lot more to say. So let's keep the conversation going.
Please. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks a lot.